It is an extraordinary day to just show up. Hi, everyone. Yvonne Heath here, nurse turned author, speaker, and changemaker, and your host. Welcome to Navigating Grief with Heart and Humor, where we talk about, plan, and prepare for grief, transitions, all the messiness of life long before it arrives, and diffuse the fear so we can live fully now, no matter what we are facing, no matter what those we love are facing, we can just show up. Most often, we've been in the deep trenches of grief and really struggled and realized how ill prepared we were. We did not have a solid foundation. We did not have coping skills and strategies, and we want to do it differently. How do we do that? We connect, we learn, we unlearn, we evolve for the rest of our lives. We acknowledge and allow our feelings about the past, we forgive ourselves and others, and we want to do it differently next time. And so I am delighted that you are here with me, and together we can learn from one another. And so, as always, I'm going to take a couple of slow, deep breaths. This is part of my ritual to just land here, be fully present, forget about all the noise and the other things that are calling me away, as I'm sure many things are calling you away as well. And yet you've chosen to take this time. So I invite you to create your own ritual or follow along with me. I'm going to take 2 slow, deep inhales with my eyes closed and exhaling slowly. And as I said, whatever resonates with you, do that so that you can be fully present and set an intention. What do you need from our time today? So I'm going to begin. A wonderful way to quiet the noise, the spinning in my head. And so before we begin with this very important topic, I have been sharing some fun facts. Fun fact for you, because I always want to bring my message with heart and humor. And I thought today I would share my fun fact as Patch Adams, Dr. Patch Adams. Many people have seen the movie Patch, which is based on his early life, starring Robin Williams, who lives in my heart forever. If you have not seen the movie, I invite you to see the movie. It is what helped me. It shaped my career. I became that silly nurse, that collage in the backgrounds. Many ways I was dressed as a clown or silly because Patch knew how to bring laughter, heart, and humor and toys and silliness to people who are suffering and dying. And so one of the things I did for myself was I went to the website and I got an official Patch Adams nose, the red nose, and I absolutely just love it. I won't put the band on because I don't want to wreck my hair. But like, here's my official Patch Adams nose. And you know what? Sometimes I just wear this to make people laugh. And I've worn it many times. And I invite you to, well, you can certainly go to Patch's website. It's called the Gesundheit Institute, but you can Google patchadams.org and you can get your very own nose or something sillier. So, or something else silly. I also have put the elephant in the room is wearing a very silly headband because when I was on a webinar with Patch and people who were doing clowning around the world. There were over 100 people dressed very silly, and I had that headband on. So Jasper the elephant wanted to wear it today. Fun fact, don't you think? All right, well, let's begin with this very important topic today. I was privileged to share my message last night, actually, on 2 webinars. And one of the things that I wanted to share, and I did share, the conversation about forgotten grievers. Forgotten grievers. That's not something I hear people talk about a lot, and yet I believe there are forgotten grievers among us. I know there are among us all day, every day, no matter where we are, no matter where we live. And what is a forgotten griever? Well, when someone dies or there is a crisis, now we're slowly expanding our understanding that grief doesn't just happen when someone dies. It is felt in any heartache, divorce, diagnosis, job loss, mental health issues, whatever makes your heart ache, you will feel grief. Even in good transitions, when you move, when you have a baby, when your children leave, there's grief and joy. And we are getting better and better at having these conversations, and we still have a long way to go. Forgotten Grievers is definitely something that we need to understand, acknowledge, and support differently. So when a family, when a community, when somebody dies, when there's a tragedy, we are compassionate and we are full of love, and we support the family around. So let's just say a neighbor died, and their families around and their friends and everyone is supporting the wife or the husband and the children and that circle. And what if in that neighborhood there were many, many neighbors or some neighbors who were really close to this person? I have moved in a neighborhood where some of these people have lived 40 years. So 40 years, a very big chunk of their lives. They raised their kids together. They have, transitioned and retired. And so they've been through so much together. Now, when a neighbor dies, do we think about, oh, geez, I wonder how the neighbor down the road is doing, or that person who worked with a coworker, if the person's retired? What if somebody worked with that person for 20 plus years, or even less time? It doesn't matter, because if that person had an impact in your life, you will grieve. And yet we won't really think of supporting you in your grief because this man over here died and maybe you haven't seen him in 10 years. Maybe he was your teacher when you were a student, and he really, really had a positive impact. And when he died, and you heard this through the grapevine, you may not even live in the town, so you don't even get to connect with the family. You don't attend a funeral or a celebration of life, and you don't have anywhere for your grief to go. And people almost feel ashamed or embarrassed if they're devastated, and you're not going to go get a grief counselor. You may recognize that you are grieving and need to talk and need to acknowledge and allow your feelings. Most of us feel like, well, I'm not immediate family, so I just need to get over it. And here's the thing, right? Whoever is grieving, no matter what the circumstance, no matter how close you were to that person, or however long it's been that you've seen them, if your heart is aching, if you are feeling hard feelings, acknowledge and allow them. You may be a forgotten griever, and here's the thing, it might even surprise you. Your hard feelings might even surprise you. The other thing with those darn feelings, sometimes we can't recognize what is happening, and we certainly don't associate it with grieving. So yes, if we hear this story and someone died and we feel sad and sort of heavy, and maybe we will acknowledge those feelings, we certainly will tell ourselves to chin up, be strong, keep moving on, which I am a voice of many voices that we need to change that, right? The more we allow our feelings, acknowledge our feelings, the softer they will get, for the most part, unless we need extra companioning, extra guidance. But sometimes those hard feelings are irritability, anger, frustration, brain fog. Ugh, I just can't seem to get myself together. Maybe you are grieving and feeling like you shouldn't, please don't say shouldn't to yourself. You shouldn't be grieving. You hadn't seen them in years. We weren't that close. It doesn't matter. Your feelings are your feelings. Feelings are like a toddler having a temper tantrum. You must allow it. Feelings demand to be heard and felt. Grief demands to be heard and felt and expressed. And we're going to talk about converting grief to mourning in another episode. We're so hard on ourselves. We feel like we need to be strong, and we're not immediate family. So why am I falling apart? I can't cry in front of anyone. If you cared about someone, if they had a positive impact in your life, if they in any way had a part in your life, when you hear that they no longer physically exist, because I hold on to my belief that we stay spiritually connected, that relationship continues with spiritually, and we have our memories, so the memories continue. But if you are feeling that pain, that angst, whatever it is, there's no circle that says these are the people that are allowed to grieve or should be grieving. Your feelings are your feelings. Now, here's the other thing, the elephant in the room. Sometimes your grief is because the person who died, your relationship was damaged. You perhaps are estranged. Perhaps they were abusive emotionally, physically, in some way, neglect. And you saw, ooh, that light was like a little spirit. That's what I'm going to say. Perhaps you have tremendous grief because now, maybe somewhere deep inside, you thought maybe it would change someday, and now there isn't a chance for that in this physical world anyway. Perhaps the people around you can't understand. Why are you grieving? You didn't even like that person. You haven't seen them for 20 years. Why is this even bothering you? Why? Because it is. Because forgotten grievers can often be people who longed for a different relationship with that person in this lifetime, and now that is never, ever going to be possible. This is something to think about, right? And I believe that in many, many circumstances, say, who are forgotten grievers? Everyone. We have been forgotten grievers at times, and we didn't even know it, and we didn't acknowledge it. I remember in high school when this young boy, it was the first time I'd ever had anyone who we watched him slowly. He had leukemia. He became pale and lost his hair. And, I wasn't close friends with him. I was a friend of his brother's. And I just remember having just all of these weird, strange feelings that I didn't know I didn't know what to do with them. And people, I see it so often in schools with students and teachers, right? A student dies or something happens, an accident, whatever it may be, and they can talk to the guidance counselor. We don't gather together in community to really, really grieve and allow our hard feelings. We just think of supporting that little circle. And I invite you to expand that. I invite you to lean into thinking of, forgotten grievers. Who might they be? And really just think about what has happened in your neighborhood, in your community, at work, in your church group, in people who are around that are professionals, who maybe the banker, the dentist, the doctor, all of those people. We've been going to the same dentist and doctor for over 20 years. I promise you, if something happens to me, they will grieve. But no one's going to think of supporting them. There are many forgotten grievers falling through the cracks, and grieving has become such an isolated, individual experience for many people, especially if they don't have a compassionate circle. Many people are alone in this world. And so wouldn't it be wonderful if we expanded our, taking the blinders off, looking around. Someone here is a forgotten griever. Who might that be? You know, sometimes it can just be a conversation that opens that up for them or for you. Because I promise you, there are times that you did not recognize that you were grieving. I know with our high school as well, there is a Facebook page, and every now and again, they'll say, somebody died tragically or this happened. And I just feel like, wow, I remember that teacher. Haven't seen them in decades. It really hurts my heart. And then I start to think of their family. And I'm grateful that I know, yeah, of course I'm grieving. It's really sad. That person was a part of my life. That person was a part of my life. And so these are the things that, if we can recognize them, and it's never too late to think, wow, yeah, that happened. That was really hard in our community. And I didn't even really allow myself those feelings. It's never too late to acknowledge and allow those feelings. And also remember that even, yes, we know when someone dies, people expect grief. Let's think about the other things. Divorce, when someone divorced, maybe that couple meant a lot to you, and you're just really sad or disappointed that dynamic has now changed. Am I friends with her or him? Or if it's a two husbands, two wives, whatever, everything's changed. You no longer have that same relationship. Maybe you thought everything was fine with them, and you're really shocked and really upset, and you're trying to be supportive as opposed to allowing your own feelings of sadness. Maybe it is also causing fear with you, thinking, wow, if that happened to them, could that happen in my life? Or that person died young. Oh, that's so scary. It causes fear. We think about that showing up in our own lives. So you know what? More than anything, I would love us to be a little more aware, a little more acknowledging of our humanness, of the humanness of others. If someone says, somebody I knew many years ago died and I'm just so upset, as opposed to thinking, oh, well, why are you upset? They haven't even been a part of your life. It's like, wow, what was your relationship? What was your relationship like? Or if someone is grieving and it wasn't a good relationship, tell me about your relationship. This must be so hard because yeah, there is never a chance to reconcile. Forgotten grievers. And also, children are often forgotten grievers. In divorce, diagnosis, job loss, mental health issues, and end of life and transitions, we forget. We forget that whatever is impacting us is also impacting our children. And so let's just start new. Let's forgive ourselves for the times we forgot about those grievers, for ourselves and do it differently from here on in, because that is the greatest thing that we can do. We must learn from and forgive the past so we can do it differently next time. And I want to continue these conversations. I want to talk in the next episode. We're going to talk about buried and carried grief. My lovely friend Maria Klievkoff introduced me to that concept, and I just so appreciate it. Learning. I am learning each and every day from so many beautiful humans. This is lifelong learning, unlearning, and evolving. And I invite you to do the same and lean into it, and know that I'm always here to support you on this journey with my show, my website, loveyourlifetodeath.com, my book, my program, Get Ready for Grief, my TEDx talk, and of course the I Just Showed Up bracelet, which needs to be worn by everyone so that we remember to just show up for ourselves first, which means recognizing when we are forgotten grievers, which means becoming proactive in creating that solid foundation and being gentle and kind with ourselves and others, and bringing gratitude and love wherever we go. And Love Your Life to Death I aspire for it to be a wonderful resource center. I have many other resources there from beautiful teachers around the world, and we will continue to bring that information, because change takes many voices and many experiences and many perspectives. And I am just so honored and privileged to share these messages with you. And I promise everything that I share is from so many different teachers, professionals, patients, family members, people who have been in the deep trenches of grief and created joy in their lives again. It is possible if we have love and support for ourselves and one another. We do not have to do this alone. So I look forward to the next episode where we talk about buried and carried grief. I'm honored that you spent this time with me. And always remember and never forget, if you want to be empowered, resilient, and just show up for yourself and others, and for those forgotten grievers, plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.